once again, welcome back to Plot.
Right, we're off. Good morning. Happy New Year, everybody. It's been a long time. Believe you me, it's taking some getting over. First thing, I want to say Happy New Year to Carl down in Norfolk. I know he's had a cracking bad year like we had last year. His missus was a bit poorly. I hope she's on the mend soon, Carl. Mine's getting a lot better now. Unfortunately, we had a really bad accident. Summertime last year, round at the old house. The wife fell on the patio, broke her leg. And of course, with living in an upstairs flat, it was absolutely horrendous. So I had to make a really quick decision. Fortunately, where we're living now, just around the corner, a bungalow come up for rent. So here we are now. It's right back to bare bones. We've got a grass garden at the back. We've got a grass garden at the front. So I've got stacks of scope to work from. As I say, I've not had any time really for videos or for the plot's taken a bit of a battering. We've had 3 storms, one after another, at the back end of last year, and it really ravaged the polytunnels, it ravaged the fences, you name it. But slowly, bit by bit, me and Roger, we've been plodding on. We've been getting little bits and pieces done. As I say, I did do some regular postings, little pieces on the plot, let them know that we're still here. And hopefully today, I'm going to have a turnaround and we're going to get cracking. Now, as I say, last year was really poor year for us. We lost a lot of stock in the allotments. A lot of stuff that we didn't get planted, I should say. We didn't have time for, but hopefully we're going to make all that up this year. Excuse me. I've come in the back garden. I've got my little 8x6 here. Next door, I've got a shed that I had built, and that's it. That's all I've got here. Whereas round home, the other house, I had a nice big garage to keep all my stock in. I've got a shed now, so I've got to make do with what I've got. I'm back to bare bones here. I'm just getting this all set up. The greenhouse is set up. I'm just getting all the cabling done, all the wiring checked. I've got power in the shed, and I've got power coming from the shed to the greenhouse. I've just put the heat bed on yesterday. I know it's well, in the middle of January we should have been get going long before now, but I wasn't in any hurry. I wanted to make sure the house is okay first for the missus, and the missus is okay. That's happy wife, happy life, so they say. So step 1's done. Step 2, we're going to crack on with the plot. The first thing I want to do is to wish all the new members. We've had quite a few over the last couple of weeks. We've had quite a few joining the plot. And I suppose they're all wondering what's going on with the video as well. Now we know. We had a really bad last year with the wife and family and bits and pieces. A lot of rubbish going on, so we never really got time for anything. But hopefully we're back this year. We're going to get cracking again. There's not much change to the plot. We managed to get the 100-foot greenhouse down. I think the last video I was busy dismantling that. That was way back in July or August. I was busy dismantling a 100-foot greenhouse. And what we're going to put in its place, we're talking about putting a small polytunnel or a large polytunnel, because it's quite a lot of land there. So we might put a new polytunnel there. We don't know yet. We're going to see how far our strength goes this year. And so we're both cracking on. We're in our 70s now, so but we enjoy it. We'll get an hour done every day, at least an hour in the winter. And as the spring and summer progresses, hopefully we'll have the strength to find a little bit more time. But I've got my pot of tea, I've got my blue tit. That's about as far as I can see bird-wise here. There's nothing hanging outside. There's no trees up. There's a couple of trees over there. Whereas around the old house, I was at the bit of wasteland at the back end. Oh, it was fantastic, the wildlife. So hopefully here we can encourage a few birds in by putting a few feeders and whatnot up. But we'll get all that done this spring. We'll plan for that anyway. A few bushes few shrubs and that, then hopefully it'll bring the birds back in, because we'll love to see them. Anyway, as I say, all the new members that's joined, I'm here, I'm back, and hopefully I'm going to crack on with a few videos. As I say, the heat bed's on. I'm not in a hurry to start sowing yet. I want to get it warmed up first. I've had a few leaks in here, just small show leaks, and I'm hoping they've weathered the storm. If they haven't, what'll happen is they'll go to seed. But I'm not really bothered. We built a polytunnel last year solely for growing leeks and onions in. It was a bit of a disaster because we've got a stem bilium, a disease that's ravaging leeks at the moment. It's a really chronic disease. I stopped showing a few years ago because of the cost of sprays and cleaning and the time that it takes. I take my hat off to the showman, because you've got to dedicate yourself, and the hours you've got to spend on it. And unfortunately, I never had that luxury last year, and I couldn't do it. So the leeks and my onions were ravaged by that new disease. I don't like using chemicals, I never have done, but for a couple of times last year I used a bit of spray that I got from one of the lads in the garden. By then it was too late, I would take a hold. But as I say, I don't like using chemicals, so I think I'm going to put the leeks on a back burner again this year. But the polytunnel, I'm not coming wrong, because I can still grow onions, not too much show types, nice and big, and leeks, but I can still get good crops out of them. I can get peppers, chilies, anything like that into the polytunnel, so it's not going to go to waste. What I've done yesterday, when we go up the plot and I finish this video off, I took the garlics out. I had started garlics off in small 9cm pots. I was really late. I think it was about November when I had discovered them still in the shed. I found a box of my daffodil bulbs that I had dug up from the garden last year. I found them in the shed, so what I'm going to do this afternoon, I'm going to go up and plant them into square 10cm pots, and then hopefully bring them up, and then I can plant them in the garden later on. It's a bit too late to plant them in the garden now. They should have been in, like I say, the back end of last year, but if I put them in pots, I'll know where they are, and then next year when I get the garden turned around, I can plant them out, so that's fine. It's absolutely freezing here in the northeast. I know I've had really rubbish weather for the last fortnight, last 3 weeks, all over the country. It's been really cold. So the heating bills are going up. My heating bill's definitely gone up. around the old home, I had a log burner. It was absolutely fantastic. It used to keep the bills way down, but here in the bungalow, it's getting a little bit costly. But I've got to watch the meter, so I'm going to have to watch what I'm spending out here in the greenhouse. I'm not cutting back on my seeds. I've just sent away the king seed. I've got me a load of seeds. I've got me geraniums, me busy lizzies, me begonias, and I need a little bit of heat on for them. Now what I have got here, I've got a back bedroom with a big windowsill. Now I'm not a great believer in starting stuff off on a windowsill, because if you haven't got much light, you tend to have a really leggy plant. Now a lot of people do start stuff off on the windowsills, and the post a couple of weeks later saying, what's wrong with me cabbages? The cabbages are about 6 inches long. Too much heat, not enough light. Simple as that, straightforward. What you want is small, steady growth. A little bit of bottom heat, by all means. And geraniums is one of them things that I'm going to have a little bit of bottom heat. So what I might do, I might start them off in the back bedroom on the windowsill. I'll put a board across the radiator so there's not too much heat there, and just let them come away and keep turning them. Revolve the tray every day. Then of course that way they don't get as leggy. Now I use these a lot. I've got loads of these small trays with a plastic dome on. Ideal for putting on the windowsill. 2 or 3 of them with the geraniums in, busy lizzies, and it'll be fine. It'll be away. I'm not putting any seeds in here until February. I'll start with my lobelia, my spring flowers, or summer flowers I should say, lobelia. And then March, as March rolls on, we'll get into the dahlias, cornflowers, stuff like that. Loads of stuff I can sow. but I'll take you through day by day. This morning really is just to get a quick video and let you know I'm still here. As I say, I've been posting little bits and pieces online, but what I want to do in here this week is to get on my compost in. I've got my vermiculite, I've got my perlite, I've got my compost coming in, so so I can start making my mixes up. I make a lot of I make my own mix up for when I'm potting off. I make my 3-2-1 mix up. I'll probably show you that later on, but if you want to know what it is, you have to go back on a couple of my videos way back on last year when we were making the 3-2-1 mix up. I've used it for 20 odd, nearly 30 years now, and it's absolutely fantastic. Only one drawback is I use my homemade compost out of the bins. You will get a lot of weed growing from it because it hasn't been sterilised, it hasn't been heat treated. I don't believe in that. I like yogurt, everything that's grown in there, just leave it in there. And you get a much better mix. I like to mix the 3-2-1. I like to use the 3 of regular compost, 2 of my homemade compost, and 1 of sharp sand. Add a bit of perlite, a couple of handfuls of bone meal, Bob's your uncle, and you've got a fantastic mix for potting on. Now I do use that occasionally when I'm using seeds like of sunflower, marigolds, dahlias. You can use it because they're a big seed, and you can use the 3-2-1 mix. And the beauty of that is, I know you're going to have weeds coming up. for you just starting up, when you've got a tray of seedlings and you've got loads coming up, and you think, God, what's what? Well, after you've been on the game for a couple of years, the gardening game, you get to know what your seeds look like, so you can just prick out the weeds and just let them grow on. But for your begonias and your lobelia and stuff like that, really small seed, I like to use just a plain ready-made compost with a bit of perlite added or a bit of sharp sand added. That way you don't get any weeds at all. You just what'll come through is your seeds. But you just got to be a bit more careful when planting. Easy job to do. I love doing it. Grow everything from seed. You can fill your garden up with flowers. Perennials are one of the best and one of the cheapest flowers going, and they can fill your garden for years. But it's a bit late now for perennials. We've got loads up the garden. We've got our wallflowers. We've got our Bella's daisy. We've got our we've got foxgloves, we've got our pansies, we've got all sorts up there. But we sow them in the September time, pick them off, overwinter them in a polytunnel, cold polytunnel, no heat whatsoever, and you get fantastic little plants ready to go in the springtime. Now hopefully I'll have a load of them spare, because I'll be wanting to fill up a load of spaces, a load of boxes. I'll be doing bits and pieces in the back garden here to try and brighten it up and get it nice and tidy for when the sun does actually shine. And what's another thing here, where I'm situated, I'm getting early sun every morning, whereas at the old house I wasn't getting it till later on because of being the south facing, the sun never climbed over that roof until about February. But here I'm getting a little bit of early sunshine, so I'm watching the sun creeping up day by day there. It's getting a little bit later in the night time, so we're galloping on, we're getting ready to go. Once I see that sun rising, I know it's not going to be long before we start sowing. So as I say, today is all about getting the greenhouse ready, get my compost in, get it warmed up. You don't. The last thing you want to do is buy a bag of compost from the shop, freezing cold, and start putting seeds in it. Get it in the greenhouse, get it warmed up, tip a bit out of the bag in a tray. I've got my trays here already, compost in there. Let it warm up, let it get their temperature. Water, fresh water, every day. Empty that out, put fresh in. Don't use dirty water. The last thing you want to do is to start putting dirty water on your seed bed and spreading bitrus and God knows what over the top of it. Water only takes a couple of days to get infected. By all means, change it every day and let it come up the temperature. That's again, you don't want to pour cold water. It's like standing in a cold shower. These people that go for cold swims and, oh well, you're welcome to it. Not me, no way. You're not shocking me into an early death. But the plants are exactly the same. You go tipping freezing cold water over them, bam, they get a shock and it slows them down. So don't do it. get your water in, yeah. Bring your water up to temperature. Same as your greenhouse, and it should be okay. Get your sprays. I've got umpteen sprays out here. Fresh water. Mark them by all means. And the one with this one I always use for my chamomile. Now I've got none at the moment, so I'm going to Shields tomorrow shopping. So I'll be calling at the health shop to get a box of chamomile tea. Now chamomile, I've used it for years. It's one of the great sprays for just combating disease before it starts. I like to clean all my compost. When I put it down, I always give it a good spray with chamomile tea. And the antibacterial properties in chamomile is just absolutely fantastic. And it's cheap as chips. And there's no chemical either. Garlic sprays, you can use garlic spray. What I had to do the other day, I went up the plot just before the Christmas. We'll put early taters in, and of course something nibbling on my cabbages for spring cabbage. That's in the other polytunnel. So I come down, crush the garlic up, boil it down. Good whack of soapy water in it. Strain the garlic off. Good whack of soapy water in. Nice and warm until it got up the pot and it cooled down a little bit, and then spray the cabbages with that. Fantastic. It stopped the little buggers. So if you've got trouble, something nibbling on your cabbages, garlic sprays. That's what they want. Give it a good soak with that, and don't forget the soapy water. Soapy water just helps it emulsify into your water. If you use a litre spray, a garlic clove will be fine for that, or 2 cloves in that. Strain it off, top it up with water, and don't forget your soap. A couple of good dollops of just ordinary washing up soap. It do. Give it a good shake and it emulsifies everything, and then spray it on, and it keeps the little buggers from eating your cabbages. And it's another spray for organic. Not gonna kill anything, but it's gonna keep them off. And that's just one little tip I'll give you. As I say, your chamomile spray, your garlic sprays. We do nettle juice and stuff like that later on in the summer. You can boil nettles down. Nettle juice is just as good, or you can feed your plants with nettles. But we'll go all through that later on as the summer evolves, or I should say as the spring evolves. As we get out of this damp and dreary weather and get out of a nice little bit of sunshine in the spring, see them bulbs coming up through the garden. Now we know it's time to go. But as I say, I'll be planting out. Hopefully by next week I'll have the greenhouse all set. I'll have my seeds ready, and I can start planting. I'll get my trays down. I'll get them washed. I've been bringing a few bits and pieces down, because as you know, I use all sorts of different for potting on multi-cell trays. My pots, all different sizes, trays, half trays are great. If you pick a bag of seed up, a packet of seeds, sorry, and you've got 25 seed in the packet, that is off the Christmas biscuits. But you can stand 2, 4, 6, 8 pots in there, and you can water them with that fantastic little tray. I'll keep that. There's my full-size seed trays. Once again, if you've got a packet of seed, 25 seed, and the last thing you want to do is be filling one of them up. There's all sorts of different size seed trays. I like to use the small ones. I've got small green ones, which I'll have to wash. I'll have to wash with J's fluid. There's another little spray. They're handy little containers. If you just got a half dozen seed or so, they're from the fruit shop, cherries or whatever. There's all sorts you can use. Thousands of different sizes, and you don't have to go expensive and start buying all sorts of fancy products when there's loads of stuff just in your supermarket that you can quite easily use. But we'll do all that later on. As I say, we'll work our way through. What I will do this afternoon, we'll pop up the plot. We'll have a little walk around the plot, and I'll show you what we've got planted and what we haven't got planted. As I say, we've got 2 or 3 options to do this year. Whether to replace a 100-foot greenhouse or just leave it bear and grow potatoes, flowers, anything else in that spot. It's a massive trench. What we could do is just border around the side of it where the greenhouse was, the actual footprint. It's about that deep in places, because if you know, we use chippings for the pathways, and of course over the years they've rotted down, and it's about a foot thick in peat. So it's really good stuff. So we can turn that over no problem, get the weeds out, turn it over, and just throw a load of tatties in if we want to. But I don't know. I'm going to see how I fix for fitness for start, and if I feel up for it, I may put a net covered polytunnel there. I've been trying to get I started building a frame last year, but when the wife had the accident, that was it. Just everything went out the window, and everything had to take a back seat until I got the wife put right. And I wasn't too grand myself before the Christmas. Then we've had the virus and God knows what. It's been absolutely murder, but we're still breathing, and that's the main thing. But no, it's been a strange year last year. So hopefully this year, touch wood, it's going to be a lot better for her. We've got a whole new garden to transform. We've got a whole new front garden, which we never had round there. We never had a front garden. But got a front garden there to take care of. I've got a lot of perennials. As you know, I keep a lot of stock plants out the garden, so I'm going to divide some of them, bring them down, and plant a few of them. All sorts. I've got stocks. I've got poker. I've got delphiniums. Lots of bits and pieces. So I'll go through them and bring them down, and hopefully have a nice display in the front garden. But I'll show you that as the year evolves. But as I say, I wanted to get started today. The next day, Sunday morning, I like to get out and just check the greenhouse. I thought I'll get out early and I'll check the bed. So I only put it on yesterday afternoon, make sure the cable's working okay, and it's fine. I've got a temperature of 50 in here, which I'm always happy with. 45 to 50. I know that temperature's going to drop through the night, but when I've got my seedlings under cover and in the little plastic propagators, it's giving them a little bit of protection, and really I'm quite happy with that. And if you're not know how to start sowing your seeds, well, that's fine. Like your tomatoes and that, they can wait well into March before you even think about sowing any of them. Your cucumbers, your squashes, they can wait till April. Loads of time. When that weather warms up, don't be in such a hurry. Even your brassicas, I never start sowing my brassicas till middle of March. And then get your timing right, and you should have nice plants ready to go out in either end of April, middle of May. That's our planting time up here in the northeast. Just depends on where you are in the country. I mean, down south, Devon and Cornwall has been plastered with snow, and that. It's unusual for so far south to be heavily hit with the gales and the snow. So it just goes to show you, we're not all invincible. We do get hammered every now and again. As I say, last year, them 3 gales that really ripped through the allotment, and we had a load of damage. But as I work my way through the planting season, and what spare time I have got, I'll do a little bit of maintenance, because I do all the maintenance up the allotment, all the building work. So I'm going to have to do a couple of jobs each day. I've found a few holes in the floors where the little furry fellas have been biting their way through. The only trouble is up the allotment, we've got a load of pigeon lads around with, and of course are coming over. The little fiends are coming over and looking for free feeds. We've got potatoes, onions, stuff like that tucked away in the shed, so they can sniff them out and try and get in there, eat them before we do. But no doubt we can sort that out later on. Anyway, I'm going to get myself in for the dinner, get my dinner done, and then I'm going to go up to the plot this afternoon. I'll take the camera up with us, and what we'll do, I'll just give you a little tour around the plot, let you know where we are. We're in the northeast of England. For all the newcomers, as I say, you can check back on some of my videos, go back 5 years. So you can check on some of them, and they'll take you through step by step, month by month, week by week, and what will grow, and what we like to put in the garden, and how we'll grow it. But it's a fantastic hobby, this, once you start gardening. You know, for the new lads and lasses that's just starting up, just taking a trowel and just trying to build some sort of a cover. There's loads of people over the last couple of weeks how to build polytunnels, how to do this. How we built all our own polytunnels. You know, it just needs a little bit of common sense. If you can get a hold of the basic materials, you're laughing. You know, timber-wise, tubes, polypipe, and then your polythene, so easy to use. I use Northern polytunnels all the time. Absolutely fantastic. You know, you can get if you build your own, and then just get your cover, and you save yourself a few bob in the long term. But the one we've just built, I'll have a look in there. We've got spring cabbages in at the moment. I've got a few strawberries housed under there. I've just taken the garlics out. As I say, the garlics, and I'm going to plant the garlics in the bed in the polytunnel, the big polytunnel where the spring cabbage are. Just throw them in there. They'll be coming out in end of May, beginning of June, because that polytunnel at the bottom is going to be used for putting our. I think that's going to be used for putting my tomatoes in. Yeah, that's it. Because the cabbages in and now, and with tomatoes, always follow the cabbage. I'll explain all that later on. As I say, cabbages is a great way of cleaning your soil. It means you don't have to use any flipping chemicals out like that to try and clean your soil up. Take any of the excess fertilizers and salts out. Plant cabbages. Quick, easy to do. I'll explain all that this afternoon. I'm going to finish my cup of tea. I'm just going to have a little recce round in the greenhouse here for a half an hour. Go and make a dinner for the missus, and then get myself the plot. So I'll see you this afternoon. Hopefully I'll get this online tonight. And as I say, welcome everybody to the plot, and we'll keep you updated. Okay, see you soon. Okay, well, we've actually made it from it being misty and cold this morning up northeast. It's now persistently raining. You couldn't make it up. 4 seasons we're getting one day up here in the northeast. But we'll plod on, and we'll try to do as best we can. Right, this is the bottom polytunnel. We had the potatoes in here last year, main crop potatoes, and then we followed it with sweet corn, peppers, chilies. Actually put a whole row of leeks where that centre spot is that's missing. I've dug the leeks out yesterday. Intended to make a bit of a leek broth tomorrow, if I can get back in the shield and get some bacon bones. That's the last of the leeks finished. The inside ones didn't do too bad compared to the show leeks. Say no spraying whatsoever. A bit of garlic on the cabbages farther up. We'll see when we go as we work our way up. The cabbages are starting to get eaten away. So what we done is made a garlic spray up. Quite easy to do. Just put a couple of cloves in some boiling water. Boil them down for a few minutes. They'll get nice and soft and mushy. Strain it into some into your spray or mixing bowl, whatever. Add your water up to a litre. Good dose of soft soap and give them a spray with that. And they hate the taste of it. Especially slugs this time of the year. You get a lot of them trying to worm their way in here, and it's not very nice. Slugs, mice, whatever, you'll get loads of them. And of course this time of the year with the weather start to warm up, if you've had anything on your plants when you're before you put them in here, you could have eggs on them off the caterpillars or anything, you know. So this is the start of our spring bedding. There's a lot of early ones starting to come on there. I've got what shallots planted in there. There's a few of them just starting to bud up quite nicely. Some nice ones there, nice shallots. They'll go outside soon. As you can see, down this row here, that's where they were nibbled away, and farther along here. So I think it's been either a mouse, it's having a bit of chew or greenery, but since I sprayed them, it's no bother coming back. So it's a win-win for us all the time. Plenty of pansies to go out. These are the ones we sowed last September. Actually, it was October when I was really late last year getting the seeds put in, but I managed to get some put in, and this is they'll be ready to go out in the hanger baskets in a few weeks' time if I need to put any out. This is Sweet William. I'll go out in the border, pansies, and over the far end, over that end, I've got polyanthus, foxgloves, and a few other bits and pieces. So that's the bottom tunnel's absolutely chocker now. But this is where spring cabbage this year. As I say, we had potatoes in here. We're forward right through the year. Every season, as one crop comes out and that crop comes in. Well, these will come out in May, end of May, beginning of June. They'll be finished, and we'll get the tomatoes that were in the first tunnel last year. They'll come into here. Now, why we put spring cabbage in? If you're just starting up in the polytunnels and the greenhouses, rather than wash your beds out with chemicals and sprays and whatnot, after you finish the cropping, people like to wash the beds. We put cabbages in. The cabbage will take out all them excess salts, all them fertilisers, everything. Take out all the rubbish out and leave your soil nice and sterile. And ready for next year, for your crop following. You might have to add a bit of fertiliser to it, to your bed. If you've got a soil meter, test it by all means. We never bother. We know just by looking at our plants if they're healthy enough. If they're not, if they start showing any sign of distress, we know that soil needs feeding. We can lime it, we can manure it. You know, there's plenty of stuff to do without having to turn to chemicals to treat our soil. But a good soil is it's a living soil. Bacteria. Now, everybody keeps going on about bacteria. And there's tons and tons and tons of bacteria in your muck bins. Good bacteria and bad bacteria. So when we mix it into the soil, you know, it's 50-50. So the good bacteria is going to work with bad bacteria. And so you've got nothing to worry about. Get that on, get your muck on the soils at the right time. We've got loads on the outside here. We'll have a little look on the way past for the new tunnel. And we'll let the winter wash it in. By the springtime, we'll spread it out, turn it in, and it's good to go. It's feed your soil, and the soil will feed you. It's as simple as that. That's the first lesson you want to learn if you're just starting your garden. Is to always feed your soil. If you don't feed it, you get nothing from it. Simple as that. Well, this is one of the down here. This is one of the I tried to do last year. I never got round to doing it. It was I've never grown them before from seed. It's the Jack onions. Now I had planted them, and of course the wife had taken it ill, and I just totally forgot about them. They were in the melon house in trays, and by the time I really got round to checking them again, they were up like that, and there were bulbs in the individual trays that I had sown them in. So they were really, really poorly looking. I thought they would never make it. So what I did, I brought the ones that I had salvaged, I brought them out and I planted them in these pots in here. And they're growing away. You're not going to get a first class onion out of them, but what I intend to do this year is to do it again. I'll start the seeds off in probably June, July, and have a nice onion ready to plant out in the end of August, beginning of September, providing we've got the land. That's another thing you're going to have to learn, is if you're cropping, get your land ready, get your timing right, and then as one crop comes out, you've got one crop to go in. It doesn't always work that way. That's why we're planting into pots and trays, and we can keep them to one side, and then once the land becomes vacant, we can get them out. But that's our first polytunnel anyway, and it's at the moment it's looking fine. There's the cabbages here. There's two varieties here. We've got a nice pointed cabbage and a nice ball head cabbage, but as I say, since I sprayed them, they're looking okay. I couldn't work on here. I'm pleased with them anyway. I'm going to shut this door down because I'm not doing anything today. The rain's pouring down, so this is what's left. Only this part left of the 100-foot greenhouse. It's the bottom end where I used to do a lot of the potting off. And there's the room there, all the way up. Right at the top end. There's a load of timber up there I had delivered last week. No doubt we'll be putting that to good use. That's some of the leeks that we've managed to salvage from last year. We've got a couple of blues, we've got a couple of King Charles, and we've got some seedling leeks there. We'll see what we can get from them. Now in here we've got the early potatoes. We'll put them in just after Christmas. We've got 3 rows in here. I've actually got Casablanca in here. I grew Casablanca a few years ago and they were quite a nice potato. I know they're not an early one because you can get some nice early rocket whatnot, but I think the Casablanca is a second early. So I've planted them. Hopefully we'll get a nice crop, a nice potato, because they're quite nice tasting. So I'm hoping we'll get a nice potato out of them come May. May into June, and of course we'll not need this land until June. Once the potatoes come out, we'll follow it with sweet corn, peppers, chilies, cucumbers, anything like that can go into there. So the land is never empty. We've got our chrysanthemums up on the top there. I'm not in a hurry to do anything with them. These are the show chrysanthemums. There's some nice cuttings on there. It's just cold in here, no heat whatsoever. There's some nice little cuttings on there. If I wanted to take cuttings, I'll probably wait until end of February, beginning of March, and then they'll root away a lot easier. That's what my next lot of timber I've got to start on. We've got fences to put up, so I've got plenty of timber there to work with. I'll be cracking on with that. Maybe it's in the March time when we get there. We'll get some fine weather. I've also got a couple of rows of Jap onions outside. Now, what I like to put in here is the Sensu Yellow, and of course I've got the 3 varieties, the Snowball and the Red Electric. And of course the Red Electric are really, they haven't even showed their faces yet. I find that every year, they're really poor to come over here. I don't know why, and then they tend to bolt quite a lot, so I'm tempted to try and grow them from seed next year. That's if I can get a hold of them. Now this is the new polytunnel we built last year. This was solely for the leeks and onions. And as you can see, we've got nice high benches here. I had 3 leeks in each holder. These are the IBM tanks, or IBC tanks I think they're called. Cut in half, put a wooden frame around them, and they're ideal. And on the other side, we've got all our buckets that we had the onions in. We've got some lovely onions out of these. It's not a high tunnel. It's only 7 foot high and 8 foot wide, which is perfect. I mean, I can grow a range of stuff in here, from peppers to chilies. All the bottom's open, nets right across the bottom, so it's been wide open to the elements. I've got a few strawberries at the back end, they're just sitting in pots. Not really too much how to put them in. What I did have on that end is the garlics. I've taken the garlics out yesterday, and they're in the bottom tunnel, and they're going to be planted tomorrow. But this is our new tunnel. No doubt we'll get a good bit of use out of it this year, whatever we put in. It's great for a hardening off chamber and all. When you bring your stuff out the polytunnels, and there's just net around the side, like I say, we can put shelves across here and put the stuff in to harden off, and it's fantastic. It keeps it dry and keeps it nice and cool, and they get away much better. But I've got my 2 glass greenhouses up the top there. They're really in need of a good clean down. With sprouts, not so much of a good crop this year. The net come away, and the butterflies got in and ruined them as usual. We've had a few of them, but not too much. These are just full everybody's greenhouses are the same at the moment unless they've got heat on. I need to get in here next week and start cleaning these out and rinse them down. We've got a spray gun that we can use, put a bit of chase fluid in it, and we'll give them a good wash for that. Now, a job I was going to do today, but I'm going to put it off. As I say, I've got my bulbs to do. These I had just, they were on the shed, and I found them last week, so I've cleaned them all up. And all I'm going to do is put some 3-2-1 mix in these pots, and take a half dozen bulbs in each pot and just let them grow away. We've got some more spring cabbage. Just stuck them down here to fill these trays up, so they don't go to waste. But we'll get in here next week and get it all cleaned out. At the moment, it's looks like a builder's backyard. We've got quite a bit of timber there. A denial, that's all got to be denial. It's from pallet wood. Very kindly given to one of our relations. We strip it down, strip the pallets down, take the nails out. It's fantastic building wood. Price of timber, these days we couldn't afford it. I've got the only thing left up here. When I mentioned about perennials and that, I've got all sorts of perennials sitting here. I think it's a red hot poker. I've got a load of different bulbs and shrubs. I'm going to open this one here. These will go down home, and these will probably end up in the front garden. I've got snowdrops, I've got small daffodils, large daffodils, and they can go down, they can go in the front garden, and they'll just stop there. But there's not really a great deal you can get done when the weather's this bad. But I like to come up and just check the heater, make sure I've got a little bit of heater in the mill house here. Just a paraffin heater, just to keep it ticking over. Right, we're back to where we started. Right, now the garlics, I've got that line where I took them leeks out yesterday. And all I did, I put a bit of, weeded it out, it's nice and clean there. Put a bit of bone meal on it. And these are the garlics that I took these out of the polytunnel. They've been sitting in there all over the winter. Now I never got these put in until about November. I was really late. But what we're going to do is we're going to plant them, take them out of the pots, and plant them along that line. We'll double it up, put 2 lines in because there's two full trayfuls there of garlics. They're not at best. I've had much bigger ones in it before. Now the idea of putting them in pots is, you know, if you want to plant them in the greenhouse, if you want to plant your garlics in a tunnel, it's a bit too warm for them really. So what we like to do is to start them off in small pots and put them somewhere where it's nice and cold, like that tunnel, with been nets on the side. The frost gets in, and really your garlics want a really good frosting. They want temperatures way down to 1-2 degrees for a few nights. And what that does, it helps when the garlic starts growing. It helps the bulbs to split and swell, and that's where you get your classic garlic bulbs all in the cloves all around in a bulb. If they don't split, you'll end up with just a round bulb. It's happened to me before. It just depends on the weather. You can still use the bulbs, but not as good as having a nice big clove that you left out of the garden that's got plenty of side shoots on. And that's the idea. Get them nice and cold first, and then plant them into the tunnel. Normally I would leave them till around about February, but we're getting short of space in there, because what I want to do is we'll put them bulbs in them pots. I want to put them pots up on the shelf in that polytunnel so they're out the way. But the garlics will go in there tomorrow in amongst them cabbages, and they'll grow away quite easy. Now, Roger weeded all this out yesterday. Weeded all the cabbages out, they're nice and clean. And all I did was come along with a handful of ammonia. You can get plenty of feeds that you can put around it now. Nitrogen, nitro choke's one of the best ones. I like to use a bit of nitro choke. You can get that in granular feed and all. Any local garden centres and that do it. So if you're in an allotment society, it's even better. You get them cheaper. But your nitro choke or your ammonia, drop that on your cabbage now. What I will be doing next month, I'll be starting on the fruit trees. Oh, this grapevine here, it's only 3 years old. It's absolutely massive. Now I'll be doing a lot of work on the grapevines this year. I'm going to take a couple of these. These are really thick. It's a big heavy variety, the red variety, this one. I'm going to take a couple of these off. Because what I normally do at the back end of last year, when I'm cutting my grapevine down, I usually put a couple away to seed, root a couple of cuttings away. Now that one's a perfect example. I'm going to cut that away because it's a nice thin one, but I'll probably get 2 or 3 of that. And that end there, I'm going to take that end off because what I don't want to do, I don't want to put the whole polytunnel in shade. The amount of leaves that you get off a grapevine is absolutely fantastic. They grow really wild. But if you can keep them well pruned back, and I'll show you right through the year how we look after our grapes. So what I'll do next week, I think when I start the video off, I'll come up here and I'll start with the grapevine. I'll cut that back to where I want it because I want to start feeding them. February is ideal. Sulphate of potash. That's our first feed for your fruit trees. We've got apples, pears, we've got the grapevines, we've got the plum tree up there. So we've got plenty to do. I'll put the sulphate of potash right round them all, give them all a good. Actually, this weather, it's doing the world of good because it's giving the ground a good soaking. And all I'll do next week is go around and give it a good feed, good sprinkling feed. That's what I'll do with these. The ones inside, they want a good water, and it's dry at the moment for them. But I want to make sure all these are cleaned down. Cut off the ones I'm not going to use. What I did last year, as I said, I didn't have much time. So what I did do is when we got the crop off them, I just cleaned them back and I left them. I know there's a couple of extra ones on here, but I'm going to cut these right off at the stem, and I'm just going to use. I've got 2 main rods running along the top here, and I'll just use them 2 rods. I might pull this one back over and put it in the centre. The trouble is, it's putting the rods where you can get to it safely without having to stand up on anything, because they do require a lot of pruning, especially in the springtime when they start growing. You get lots and lots of grapes, lots and lots of bunches coming off. But if you stagger them, cut out the ones that you don't need, which you'll get plenty on if you're growing vines for the first year. They really do grow well inside the polytunnels, but they get a bit overgrown at times. So you've really got to come down hard on them and give them a really good pruning back. But I'll take you right through the year on that. I love growing the grapes, fantastic. I like eating them. So we'll get back to this tunnel next week, and we'll start with the grapevine. We'll clip that back. I'll take the cuttings down home because I've got the greenhouse ready down home now. I'll get some compost taken inside. I've got a lot of seed to sort out up the top end there. I've got a lot of seed to sort out. I think I'll do that before I go home. Just come back in here. As you notice, I've got a mountain of staging boards there that I managed to pick up a couple of weeks ago from one of the neighbours. Purchased them. He had them lying in his garden for about 5 years. He asked me if I would buy them off him, which I did. I've got them all stacked up there. And I've got them all on kickers right through, so the air gets through them, dries them all out. It'd be fantastic if we went to build a new tunnel. I invest. I put my money in. When I buy stuff, I invest for the future. So if I'm going to be building a new polytunnel, I'm going to get 10 years out of it. So that's the way I look at my pocket money. This year, I'm going to have to be a little bit more mean. Cut back on my spending in the garden. As I say, I've cut down on a lot of heating. Whereas we had 2 greenhouses heated last year. I've got a little bit of heat going in there. I've got a few onions coming up there, just starting to come up there. And I've only got a single paraffin burner. I know it's not enough because the temperatures here up the north east have dropped down to 2 and 3 below. But inside the melon house, it's a little bit warmer. a few degrees, so it's keeping a nice steady temperature. One job I never got done was the peach tree. I'm going to, now that it's all died back, I'm going to give it a good pruning, because we've got some fantastic crops off there. Just needs a really good clean down. It's full of all the dead leaves and everything. So if I give it a good cleaner back next week, then once again I'll feed the peach tree. I'll give it a good handful of sulphate of potash. It's getting plenty of rainwater because we've got quite a few holes in the polytunnel off the seagulls. We've tried everything. We've tried putting ropes along, discs, nets, everything. And the seagulls still come down because it's that big, the polytunnels. They think it's a big expanse of water. And they come down the top, and of course they catch our claws in the top and big holes in it. But this is going to have, we'll get another year out of this one. The one in the bottom ripped badly last year, right long, because the westerly winds just tore a great big hole in this one. We've got some heavy duty polythene on the sides, just holding it down. We'll get another year out there. I'll be quite happy. And that's it. Well, you've seen the plot. As I say, this is for the new lads and the new lasses that's wanted to join with on my journey. I've got quite a bit of work to do here. I've got the carrots. I've been digging carrots up from what was under the greenhouse. They've been absolutely fantastic, marvellous. Got a really good crop. I've got a lot of perennials in there in this one here, but this will come down next year. This is the last of the 100 foot. It's only because I've got a lot of delphiniums and whatnot in pots in there, and I'm just going to leave them. As I say, this was where the 100 foot greenhouse was. Let's see if I can spin it. A couple of carrots. We'll go them in. Absolutely fantastic. That is out the greenhouse bed where the polytunnel was, where the greenhouse was. That's the old greenhouse bed. And what I did at the end, when we started taking it down, I sowed a couple of rows of carrots, and that's the produce now. That's soil. Yeah, the deep bed. It's a foot deep, the bed, 18 inches, and that's been there for 15 years. It's absolutely fantastic. It's been well manured every year, limed, cleaned. There's some great soil. So we're going to decide how we're going to sort this one out. We've got our apple tree, and we've got our pear tree. They were cut back at the end of the year. We've got some nice crops off that. So that's another job out the way. We've got timber lying around all over here. But the weather been that bad over the last couple of weeks. We haven't, and of course, with us being down with cold and whatnot, we haven't been able to get round it. But right, well, hope you enjoyed that little walk around. Next week, we'll get that grapevine started. If we're doing anything else up here, we'll certainly keep you up to date. We'll get them greenhouses cleaned down. I'll get them bulbs put in tomorrow. Even if it's wet, I can come up and work in the little glass greenhouses. So ideally, I want to try and get them done next week. I want to get them washed down with GS fluid. I've got the new spray gun there, so we'll give them a good spray and a good blast and get all the glass cleaned up, get all the benches tidied up, because there's stuff just been hiding over the last couple of months. And we'll get them up and running and ready for February. So anything we need to bring out them polytunnels, they can go into there. We'll get them sorted out. That's it. So hopefully, if I can get a bit of planting out done next week, few seeds to put in. I'll see what's on the agenda. I'll go through my seed catalogue. I'll go through my seeds that I've got at home, what I need to order. I've still got a few more bits and pieces, not too much. I used to use my local Wilco store a lot, especially if I'm just lettuce, beetroots, carrots, turnips. I can get them quite easy. But when I start sending with for like some leeks, good leeks, pot leeks and that, especially sprouts, the ones I like, I've got to send away. I use king seed quite a lot, and absolutely brilliant. I always get first class service, good seed count. We'll go all that through next week. As I say, if you're just starting up, follow our channel and we'll take you through week by week. We'll crack on down home with getting that greenhouse sorted out. The heat bed's on, so hopefully next week we might decide on where we're going to put these geraniums. I'm toying with the idea of putting them on that back windowsill for the time being, but I've got to make a temporary shelf above the radiator. I don't want the trays actually sitting on the radiator because it'll be too hot. And with a lot of plants you can give too much heat. You know, you don't want them too hot. You just want them comfortable. They're like us, you know. The feel of temperature is just the same as us. If it's too hot, no good. Too cold, no good. You want them in the Goldilocks region, so to speak. So keep an eye out for on the plot. This is our first video from 2026, and hope we'll get many more this year. Okay, so follow along, and we'll take it step by step as we go along through the season. Okay, bye for now.